Hello, Paul here from EMD Automotive. Coming by Sydney, I got this Porsche 996 that came in for a check over and running rough as well, shaking, the car was shaking, things like that. Just want to go through the actual what we found. Alright, number one, the cam cover tubes, cam cover spark plug tubes on this one here is leaking. That's why you can see it through here. That's leaking. Spark plug tubes on this side here is leaking as well, as you can see. The oil vapor separator is leaking as well on this car here. You can see it from this side here. It's very hard to see, but I'll try my best. If you can see it, it's really hard on this side here, but it's hard to see it. But we'll go back to the actual, the diff flange seal here is starting to leak as well, coming down to here and then showing up on this side here of the gearbox pan. But it's not the gearbox pan leaking, it's just the diff flange seal starting to leak. As well, we have this hose here is crimped, leaking. It's a little bit of coolant here, as you can see it's wet. That's wet as well, so I gotta get a new hose. I try my best not to use the hose clamps, because this is what happened when you use a hose clamp. The hose clamp pinched the hose and then split it in half, and they start leaking coolant like that. See, that's already wet there. That's from the actual top as well. So let's have a look at the actual water pump. Water pump's fine here. Thermostat's not leaking. Engine mount as well. There's your engine mount there. There you go. Engine mount starting to sorry, it's hard to see anyway. There you go. Engine mount starting to sag down, drop down a little bit. Not bad, but still already dropping down. Alright, let's go back out. Sorry, zoom out. Sorry about that. Now get the focus back. Alright, the gearbox, we removed this the drain filler here. This one here, the filler. This is the drain here, sorry. Remove the filler out, and with that extra oil was really black on this one here. Like it's really black. It's oil on the gearbox. It needs to be changed, and new filter as well. We can't, I mean, I'm going to show you another picture as well of the actual oil. You guys, you can see it's really bad on this one here. The tires on this one here, it's really old. If you look at your tire, there's a date here. If you look through here, is it? Wait up. Alright, this one here, it's the date's 2013, week 49. So this tire is really old. The front one's 19, is alright, not bad, I think. But the rear one is actually needs to be changed. Too old, worn on the inner as well, so it's pretty bad. The shock absorber is pretty bad as well. Right hand side shock absorber is leaking pretty bad. Left hand side front shock absorber is starting to leak as well. But I advise the customer in the future to do all four. This is old as well. You look up there, the actual bump stops are broken as well. You can see it through there. It's already cracked in half as well. Yeah, all four shock absorbers. The suspension's still original from day one, so nothing have changed on this car here. But if you can look through here, look closely. We had to modify it. Put this little, see this little dowel here. I had to cut a bolt, and that one, and this one as well. This side here as well. You see it there. Same on this side here. We modified it so we can actually get the coil cover. I had to modify the coil cover to make it fit, because when you fit the new coils, they're too big and they won't fit. So we're just modifying the coil covers to make it fit properly on this car here. The battery is still alright on this car here. All the fronts pretty normal on the 996, 986. And the tray get bashed underneath from getting from before. So this hose here has been off. Better plug it back in. That's supposed to go in like that. All right. Okay. The radiators. This radiator here has been changed as well. This one here has been brand new radiator. The left hand side. The left hand side still old. The radiator. But what I found is the actual condenser on this side here, that one there, for your AC. condenser on this side here. They're just starting to leak. I can see a bit of a what do you call dye, green dye on there. It's starting to leak already. Alright, coming into the actual back of the engine here, I have removed the actual front cover here. Sorry, the engine ECU cover. So you can see. Yep, stop there. ECU covers here, I have removed it. And the reason why I removed it because the car was running rough, so I have to check the actual wiring harness, the injectors, make sure the injectors are fine. So the injectors are probably running about 90%, 80 to 90%, not 100%, but they're 80-90%, majority of them. So the injectors are still not 100%, but it's alright, still running. And what we found is when we took the actual the coils off the actual to do the compression check, we found one of the coil wasn't plugged in properly from before, and that's why it was causing the running rough. But what we're going to do now, I want to show you something here. This vent solenoid here is not working. This one here is open circuit. That's your vent solenoid for your fuel tank breather. Alright, someone has taped this one up. See that one there is taped up, it's broken. This part here is broken as well. That pipe there that goes to the back, that main pipe there is broken. So that pipe, this is very important. That pipe there is for your brake booster. So the brake booster pipe, so this one here runs from here all the way underneath the car on the left hand side, and it goes to the top of the car and goes into the actual brake booster on the right hand side of the car. And someone probably broke it, and at the same time took it off, and they forgot to put a clip in there. There's a locking clip like this one here. There's another locking clip inside here under there, and if you look, the whole thing is loose because it's not locked, because someone broke that and then tape it up. This is very important for your brakes. This applies vacuum for your brake booster to make it softer when you actually apply the brakes. So it's actually helping you to actually have more force on your brake pad, on your brake pedal. At the same time, someone have changed the actual plastic here and used this hose clamp, which is really close to the belt. Most of the time this little clamp comes loose, or they spin around and hit the belt and they eat the belt, and actually the belt will come off and break off. So I'm going to advise the customer to put some clips in there, crimping clamps, not the actual hose clamps. Few little things we found as well, as you can see here, some oil leaks from the actual oil separator. It's pretty evident on this side here when the oil separator is pressurizing, they start to throw oil out. There's a little vent down there, that goes to bank number 2 from bank number 1 from the separator, breather. And what happens is when there's too much pressure, they actually open and start throwing oil out, and you think it's leaking from the cam cover, but it's not. Alright, so this is the old girl, meaning it's still got the actual cable photo, not the actual flyby. 7.2, this is 5.3 DME. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff need to be actually checked on this car here. So I'll check the compression as well. So let me get the compression values and we'll have a look. Actually, the front disc and rear disc, on this car is it's undersized. Undersized meaning that front is below 26 and the rear is below 22. All right. So this front disc, front pads, rear pads. Front disc, rear disc, front pads, rear pads. And let's have a look at the actual values that we got from the actual compression value. So we've done a compression check on this car here, and cylinder number 1 come here. It's hard to actually see. Cylinder number 1 was 94 psi. So that's the leak down. The compression, we've done the compression. Cylinder number 1 was 160 psi. Number 2 165, 3 160, 4 160, 5 170, and 6 175. All right. And then we've done a valve leak down test, and we found that we put in 100 psi and locked the crank, and it's holding 94 psi. That's what it means. We'll just see how much pressure does the actual each cylinder hold. So cylinder number one was 94 psi, number 2 was 99, number 3 was 94, number 4 was 94, number 5 close to 100, 98, 100 psi, but number 6 was the only one was dropped. down to 85 psi. So I mean, it's not that bad. 85 psi. Usually a bad ones would be like 70 or 60, but 85 is still above. Yeah, the battery is good on this car here. Everything's good. I've got a whole list of stuff that I put down. I can't really talk about it now while I'm filming, because otherwise the video will go forever. But yeah, so now we're going to start it up and see if it runs rough again. Alright, because we put the wiring harness back. Start it up. As you can see, it's running much better than before. Before, this thing was actually misfiring really bad, like something is like missing one cylinder, and that's why we found the coil. Someone done the coils and didn't plug in the wire properly. Running much better than before now. But I'll show you what I mean. When you do an ignition coil on a Porsche, this is the same engine as that one there, but this is a newer 987, that's a 996, but they share the same kind of configuration. So if you look, this is what happens. A lot of people do the spark plug, they change the coil in the car, and this is what they do. They press it here and then they take it out like that. Alright, because in the car it's harder because there's no room. I'm just outside here is very easy. But what I usually do when we actually do it, I usually pull. Can you put that up there? We push the plug like that all the way back. I know it's a pain to do in the car, but you have to do it. Push it all the way back. Keep going until you see that. This is what we usually do it here. This is how we do it at EMD. So we pull, that's it, that's good enough. We pull the boot all the way back, and then we connect this wire. We connect this wiring harness like that, and you hear this, and you see the click. You hear that and you see that, and you know it's not going to come off, and then you put this on like that. Alright, what people do is they press it like that and they take it out. Alright, and they think the wire looks like that, and they push it back in again like that, and then they think it's in, and sometimes it looks like it's in, but when you pull it out, it's still like that. Alright, see, that's why it's important to actually make sure it's in properly like that. That's why we have the boot up before, so you can see it. And that's what we found on that car, that 996. This one here, the actual one of the boot was not, one of the actual wiring harness was just sitting there halfway. It wasn't in, causing a running rough. But I haven't driven the car yet. Let me go back to that. Let's have a look at the actual wiring and the compression test. I already showed you the compression check was good. The valve leak down was good, just number 6 was running at 85%. But we'll go back to the computer and I'll show you something else. Alright, now we're back in my computer. Sorry for the mess, but I'll try my best. Okay, we're gonna pause it here and I'll go back to the folder. Okay, let's have a look at the actual ball. So we took the spark plug out and do the compression check and the actual valve leak down test. At the same time, I done a borescope check as well, so I had to put my camera inside there. So let's look at cylinder 1. Okay, that's cylinder number 1, that's the ball. Alright, I took a picture of it so you can zoom in. So you can see there's no scratch marks. It just looks like a normal cylinder. Alright. Usually when you have a scratch mark, you see a massive marks from the actual piston slap on this car here, but I'm not gonna go to every single one of them because they all look the same. Cylinder 1 to cylinder 6, they all look like this. So if there was a bad one, I'll show you, but they all look like that, so which is really good. Alright, so all the borescope inspection was good on this car here. Let's go back into the actual injectors. So if you look at the injector number 2, okay, this is one of the injector waveform that's why I took the actual center, the rear of the car off to get to the actual wiring harness to do this, because you can't do it in the car because there's no room. So look at the cylinder, look at the injector there, here, it's opening here, and it's closed, and it's sort of, usually you want something that's actually open. There's a little dip here which is open. That's when the injector open, and they go up like that, and they sort of close and they fall down to here. Right, which is pretty normal on this 996. All right, so all of the injectors sort of like look like that, so there's nothing to worry about at the moment. And that's what I'm talking about. So how we put this little dowel there, a little like a stud in there as well, to actually modify the actual coil covers to fit, because the coils are bigger now, they're thicker rather than smaller. If they were smaller, you can fit the original coil covers, protection, heat shield, but now we have to modify it to make it work. All right, I forgot to mention on this car here, the actual fuel filter on the car, it's still the original. It's pretty dirty, so and the gearbox color was really black as well on this car here. So now I'm gonna have a look, see if I can actually find the file. There you go, I found a relative compression check I done with a special tool that I've got to tell me if the compression, how good the compression are before I done the compression check. It's pretty even. You can see how it's pretty high, little bit below, but still above the 75% mark. So that's really good to me on an older car like this. If you see something around here below the 75% mark, or below 60%, or close to 50%, then you know it's pretty bad. But by that time you know yourself if the car's not running properly. But this is a relative compression check I do as well. I've done a fuel pump test as well on this car here. I've done a fuel pump lab scope waveform test as well on this car, and it's the fuel pump it's smooth. The lines, the lines are going up and down like that, up and down like this evenly. Usually they'll be cut off and all over the place, and I mean, you know if the car's not running correctly anyway, so that's part of the check as well I do as well on this car. All right, that's pretty much it for this car here. I've got a lot of stuff I listed as well on a piece of paper. I can't really talk about it on the car at the moment because the video will get to half an hour, but I'll try to keep it under 15 minutes or close to 15 minutes. All right, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.